I've spent my entire life working with startups and entrepreneurship. My first job in school was I worked for the United States government inside of Belarus, Ukraine, Russia to help use entrepreneurship to convert their military autonomy into a civilian one. And we were successful for a while until a guy named Vladimir Putin showed. That's the best we could do. I'd like to ask a question. How many of you have your own business right now? Okay, so almost all of you. How many of you are from Portugal? Interesting, about half and half. We're going to cover 5 things today. The question on most people's minds is how do you grow your business? One of the hardest things to do is to take your idea, turn it into a venture, and turn it into a business. And then as you grow it, how do you make the business more predictable? We all want businesses that have less risk rather than more. You sleep better at night, we make more money, it's less stressful, and it becomes easier to sell that business if that's something that you want to be doing later on in life. And we talk about that. What concrete steps should you be taking tomorrow, next week, next month, next year? So this is not intended just to be an academic discussion, but hopefully an opportunity for you to develop a plan to turn the business you have today into the business that you want in the future. We're going to talk a little bit about mindset. I am not a professional psychologist, but having worked with businesses around the world for 30 years, I've come to understand what works and what doesn't work. Mindset really does matter in business because if you don't have the mindset, you can work against yourself. And business is hard enough without us being your own worst enemy. And then finally, why should your business exist? And I think this is so important because when we look at the businesses that are the most successful, we know why they're there. They're businesses that we would miss if they suddenly did not exist anymore. Okay? And we'll talk a little bit about that. Just a little bit about me. I come from a background of venture capital and investment banking and strategy consulting for companies in many countries. This is the fifth country, yes, including America, in which I've lived. And one of the things that I've learned in living in all those countries is that at the end of the day, business people more or less want the same things. The only difference is that they're in different environments, but the goals are fundamentally always the same. And one of the more fun things I do is I've been a coach for many teams in the business plan competitions. I'm not the reason they won, but my goal is to make sure I was not the reason that they lost. Not to get their line. In the United States, it's a program called Shark Tank, where people go on national television and they present their businesses to Mark Cuban and Mr. Wonderful and the other people, right? So I've actually coached 2 people that have gotten funding on Shark Tank. Even on TV, the motivations are all the same. Investors, entrepreneurs, all more or less want the same thing. We're going to start with talking about how to grow a business. Everybody has a different idea of what business growth is. For some people, growing a business is, I just want to grow the business so I can replace the income I had when I was working. For other people, growing a business means I want to grow so I can grow the biggest companies in this country. And I want to become really rich. And for other people, it's about not as much about revenue or finance, but it's about making an impact. Right? As Steve Jobs once said, he wanted to make a dent in the side of the universe. And for some people, that's what they want their business to do. Bottom line is, what separates the okay business from the fantastic business? The okay businesses make spectacular things look routine. And the great businesses are spectacular and doing routine. The great businesses are not about the ones that occasionally reach the high points, but the best businesses are the ones that do the medium things all the time, without fail, very consistently. And think about the best brands. Don't they always do the routine things spectacularly? You always expect great things from them. Somebody shout out, what's a favorite brand? What's a branding like?
Nike.
Which?
Nike.
Nike. Why would I Nike?
With the quality of the products.
Yeah.
Is always on point.
Yeah. And Nike always brings a consistent message of positivity and hope. Right? We're encouraging people to be the best version of themselves that they can be. Right? They do that all the time. And you almost don't even notice it. The thing about the best businesses, you almost don't notice them if they're small. And they're so good at what they do, but you don't notice the fact that they're doing it. Okay? Next slide, please. I want to talk a little bit about what does it look like to do routine things spectacularly. Okay, businesses focus on something called a key performance indicator. Okay? And a key performance indicator is the outcome of a business. If you do certain things, then good things happen. Sometimes people call revenue or sales a key performance indicator. The business is doing well if we have revenue. Or it's profitable. The more profitable we are, therefore, we must be a successful business. The number of leads that you generate, the possibility of selling for the customer. Clicks, likes, subscribes. Those are all things that are examples of key performance indicators. Now, for those people who have their own business, what do you consider a key performance indicator? John, when you have a key performance indicator?
For me, it's new clients and pipeline.
Anybody else on the share? Yeah. Testimonials, it's always good to get a testimonial, right? Here's the issue with key performance indicators. All of these tell you how you've done. They're not telling you how you're doing. Once your revenue has come in or not come in, you can't change it. If my profits are down in the last month, there's nothing that I can do to change it. It doesn't tell me anything that I can act upon. Americans have a reputation, I think, for working a lot. We'll work with workaholism. We and the Japanese as leaders, I think, in workaholism. Maybe the South Koreans are up there. It's not necessarily a race that we want to win, but we're winning. And one of the reasons we're workaholics is because we constantly chase leads. And if one of these things or some other key performance indicator is down, the only solution we can think of is we just have to work hard. We think we can outwork our mistakes. We think we can outwork our bad performance. And sometimes you can. But outworking your problems is not always sustainable. And the older we get, such as I, because I'm 54, the older you get, the more you feel like you can't outwork your challenges anymore. So I encourage people instead to manage by key performance drivers. What are you actually doing? How many prospects are you contacting? So one of the things we measure our business by is how many potential clients have we reached out to and contact? How many have we called? How many have we sent a LinkedIn message to? How many have we sent an email to try to set up a meeting that may eventually lead to revenue? Next one. How many email newsletters have we sent? And how big is our email list? Those things are going to be predictive. It literally predicts the revenues and profits. If these things fall below where we want them, chances are good that we didn't contact as many prospects, that we didn't send as many emails. A big one for us is how many videos we create. That's the thing that we track every week. And God bless my wife, who produces these, because I don't give her very much to working. But nevertheless, we can see how much activity we get in terms of leads and prospects based on the number of videos that we create and publish. Next one. One of the things we track is leads performed. This is a little bit unusual, but one thing that we think is very important in a company is that we just try to help. We try to find somebody to help and we help them. We're not helping them because we think there's something in it for us. We don't help them because we think there's a fee. There's just an opportunity to help somebody through an introduction, to send them a client, to send them information, to provide an education to them. Sometimes just to reach out and talk to them. Okay? But we have the quota, and we try to do a minimum of good deeds every week because we think that's something that's important to our firm in the long term is going to impact you. But it gets to part of the why of our business. The why of our business is not to do these. The why of our business is the impact that we have based on this. So these drivers, these are the actionable things. So if we see in a given week that we're not contacting as many prospects, we can correct that next week because we'll be tracking it, we know it, and we can fix it. We can fix the number of emails sent. We can fix the number of videos. We can fix the number of videos created. These are things that we didn't act upon. Can you think of any other drivers for your business? Sorry? Community events, okay. Why is that the driver? Yeah, because you're in the community and that's how people know about you, right? And that community event may not result in a new customer that day, right? I think 3-6 months from now, you're going to remember seeing you. It's the work that you have to almost think like a farmer. You've got to put the seeds in now to grow the vegetables 6 months from now. And there's no substitute. You try to pull the thing 2 weeks from now, there's no vegetable yet. What else?
Maybe some webinars?
It's one of the reasons we drove. It's a core plan of our strategy because it makes us visible to people and they get to know us, they get to trust us, and they get to like us. And you need all three to make the binary. What else? What's another potential key performance driver?
Able to give guys in a more regular time, for example, weekly.
If you're doing these things, and these things are not showing the results, what should you take away from that? What are you learning? They're not the right things, right? One of the facets of modern entrepreneurship that did not exist 25 years ago is the opportunity to experiment. You don't just buy TV advertising and hope that it works. You have to buy advertising in a magazine and a newspaper and hope that it worked. With social media, we can experiment. With all kinds of marketing has become so cheap relative to what it was 25, 30 years ago. We can learn things that we couldn't learn before. It may be that we're not doing the right things. What's the other explanation?
We're doing the right things the wrong way.
It could be a matter of execution, the right idea for the wrong process. And what's the third?
You have to wait and be patient.
Maybe you haven't done it for long enough. Not wrong. No. Now, investment. Now, investment can take many forms. They can take spending a bunch of cash and putting it into the business. But there's also investment of effort. In English, we call this sweat equity. But you have to invest in something. It's very rare that you can simply decide that you're in business and it just simply comes to you and works. If you don't have the cash to invest in marketing, if you don't have the cash to invest in people or potentially even technology, at a minimum, you should be investing in knowledge, you should be investing in thought. As an entrepreneur, we have a nature of wanting to act first. One of the reasons we became entrepreneurs is because we were frustrated with the companies we worked for that seemed to take forever to make a decision. And then when they finally made a decision, it was a bad decision or it was a great decision that was made too late. And so we want to act. It's the nature of being an entrepreneur. And you do have to lay some groundwork for that to work. So one of the best ways you can set yourself up for success in your business is to invest in your own knowledge. The best entrepreneurs are always learning something. They're either learning it from the mistakes they make, you're investing in building your skill set. And whether that's reading a book or a podcast or a TED Talk or a round table, whatever it is that you do, whatever way you learn best. If you don't do anything, then we already know what the outcome is going to be done. And then investing in thought. This is different from investing in knowledge because knowledge is exposing yourself to either facts or concepts that may or may not be useful. Most of them will be, of course, some of them will not. But it's not enough to know things. You have to think about things. You have to find time and space in your life to think about the knowledge that you're acquiring and how that's going to apply to you. And again, and that's going to be difficult for everybody. I gain a lot of value from sleeping on things. When I sleep on things, I understand them much better. Other people invest in thought by their walking, or they invest in thought by meditating, by exercising, by playing video games. Knowledge without thought is wasted. Many entrepreneurs feel like the most important asset is money, and I'm here to tell you that's not. No business ever went out of business because they ran out of money. They went out of business because they ran out of time. Now, they ran out of time to get money, but at the end of the day, they wound up running out of time. One of the great things about owning a business, from my perspective, is I can always make more. You don't have to wait until the end of 2 weeks or 30 days for somebody to pay you, right? When they go out and you find more business, or you do something different to generate more business. That's the freedom, that's the unlimited potential upside, depending on what the people are willing to do. But you take them with bank and borrow money. One of my weaknesses, I fall into the trap of thinking that I can simply outwork my mistakes. The better thing to do is to invest thought in your business and not make the mistake in the first place. So the thing that you have to guard the most jealously is your time. And I think maybe the most important skill of the successful entrepreneur is time management. It includes saying no to people that you may wind up disappointing. For most businesses, growth is measured over a period of months and years, not days or weeks. One of the things that I enjoy about Portugal and about Europe generally is Europe is much better at taking a long view than Americans are. American culture is very much geared towards what's going to happen next week, next month, next quarter, and that's fine. But the concept of multi-year sustainability is a very difficult concept for Americans to grasp because it's not American. Everything is about speed. Okay? And that works for some businesses, but for other businesses, it results in terrible failure. Because the long game is where ultimately the value is. And there's data that shows that the most valuable businesses reach that value point roughly 15 to 20 years after they were created, which contradicts a lot of investment because most venture capital investments can't be any more than 10 years. Most venture capital funds have an expiration in their contract that says at the end of 10 years they have to sell everything and give money back to the investors, which is why they generally stop investing about 6 years into the fund. There's a great book out called Customer Satisfaction is Worthless. Customer Loyalty is Priceless. The key thesis of his book, which I think is so insightful, is that great businesses are built on customers that love you. Think about the last restaurant you ate at. That was an okay experience. You probably don't even remember the name of the restaurant. It's the great experiences that keep people coming back. Do you guys know a brand called Harley Davidson? It's an American brand of motorcycle, right? And people put tattoos of Harley Davidson on their bodies, right? I don't have the commitment to any brand to put a permanent on the body, but people will put a tattoo and be an advertiser for life for that brand, right? They'll do it for their favorite rock band. The easiest revenue you get is from a customer that you already have. In your business, if you already got customers, focus on making sure that their experiences are great because they can't wait to come back and spend money with you. And one of the things I love about Punctuation, they've given us a fantastic experience from day one. And even though it takes me 25 minutes to walk here, there's a co-working space 150 meters from where I live. I wouldn't go in there. This place is great. Why? Because they've created a fantastic customer experience. What customers, and this is so important, they give you flexibility when things go wrong. Because try as we might, mistakes happen. But your most loyal customers know that you're there for them, and they know and trust that you're doing everything that you possibly can to make it work. And that is the goal. Next, please. A lot of people don't like to market and sell. And I'm sorry to tell you, that's just part of the game. 40% of the money that is raised in Silicon Valley is spent on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, and Amazon. 40% of every dollar raised in Silicon Valley goes to those 4 companies because of marketing. It is simply the name of the game, is the way that you're heard. The good news is any marketing will work if you do it consistently enough and intensely enough. I don't normally sell my services by putting my face on the side of a bus. But if I put my face on the side of a bus everywhere in Europe for 3 years, I would eventually get business out of it. It's not the most efficient way you do it, but it would eventually happen. Eventually somebody would see my face and say, hey, I want this guy to help me buy another business. Okay? If you're wondering what marketing should we do and that's paralyzing you and you're not taking trust with that, don't let it. Any marketing is better than no marketing. You can't hurt yourself. And the reality is the business owner is often the chief marketer because the business owner is the voice of the business. What if you actually talked to the chief executive officer in Vodafone? If you had that kind of contact, it would make you feel great. But as a startup, as a small business, you probably can talk to every customer, most customers anyway, every day. Before you shut down, ask yourself, what have I done to bring in a new customer in your life? It doesn't have to be calling people up on the phone. We call this cold calling in the United States. It could be writing a white paper. It could be recording a video. It could be a LinkedIn post. It could be commenting. Make sure that every day that you're in that habit, part of the daily routine, you're doing something that's bringing in new customers. One of my passions is about making your business more predictable. One of the ways that manage risk is by creating a culture of what we call accountability and goal setting. It means taking ownership of whether you're the leader of the business or an employee, you're doing your job on that team to make sure that the team is successful. One of the biggest challenges of being an entrepreneur is we don't have a boss anymore, not in the conventional sense. So I can do anything I want. Right? Nobody just wanted to fire me. So I can be on Instagram or TikTok watching little cat videos if I want to for 3 hours. Nobody's going to hire me, but nobody's going to fire me either, right? You can avoid doing the hard things. And those in business that has hard things or hard conversations, there's some things that can be physically difficult about the business, and it leads you to avoid it because you don't have a boss that is forcing you to do those things on a specific schedule. You can have constructive accountability. That's not about blaming, because blaming really isn't all that useful. What is useful is identifying what is it that prevented us from doing things that we need to be doing, the hard things that we need to be doing. Is it emotional? Is it because we have a lack of time and doing too many things? Is it because we have a lack of some other resource? Is it because we hired somebody and they weren't the right hire? And accountability starts with setting goals for yourself. A SMART goal is specific, you can measure it, and realistically achieve it. It makes sense, it's relevant, and it's constrained by time. Which means we're going to do specific things that matter, and we're going to commit to doing them by a specific period of time. Some of us are so disciplined that we can do that for ourselves. Most of us need to be accountable to somebody else, which is one of the reasons teams do better than individuals with startups, because you're accountable to somebody. It's one of the reasons coaches have a job, because a coach's job is to be that person to whom you will be accountable. You have to be accountable to someone whose opinion matters to you. If your opinion doesn't matter, then the accountability doesn't work. You have to feel that if you don't do the things you were supposed to do, then you let them down. You have to feel down and feel care. then that accountability doesn't have an entire role in the business. And make sure that your goals are that your goals are consistent with your plan. And if they're not, then make changes. We call that a pivot. Sometimes you're wrong, and that's okay. What's not okay is realizing that you're wrong and still doing the wrong things anyway. That doesn't make any sense. At some point, finances have to enter into this. And in spite of the fact that I'm an advocate of key performance drivers, at some point the business has to make money or it can't be sustained. So make sure that you set financial objectives. And a lot of people do this, but many more almost really don't do this. They don't review them. If you set a goal of 200,000 euros of revenue this year and then never look at that goal again, that goal has no power. You're looking at that goal at least every week. For some people, it makes sense to do that every minute. And those objectives have to be consistent with your business vision and your mission. Your goal may not necessarily be to make the most money. That's okay. That's called a lifestyle business. What you're doing in the short term has to be connected to the long term. The long-term outcome is the result of short-term actions. And the great thing is that business has momentum. That when you start to have complete things that go out of one after the other, it starts to take on a life of its own. Keep your personal and business finances separate. If you treat your business like it's your own personal bank account, that can be a disaster. And it can be a disaster both from a tax point of view, and it's also a disaster because then you really don't know how your business is doing. Maybe your business is doing great, but personally you're not a very wise spender. And if you mix these two things, your business looks worse than it actually is. On the other hand, if you have a business that is making a little bit of money, but you never pay yourself, that's really not a profitable business. It looks like it's profitable, but it's not generating the economic power that it needs to. And you have to determine what kind of business you want. Do you want the kind of business that is a lifestyle business? And that's okay, there's nothing wrong with that. Or do you want to, and the goal is to have cash coming in and growth? Or do you want to build the kind of business that Microsoft is going to buy in 10 years? Either one is fine, but these things all have to match up with that goal because they don't mix very well. And the way to accomplish this is to build what we call a financial model. A financial model is where you open what's called a spreadsheet program, and you create mathematical relationships between the money outcome and the activities that you're going to invest in the business to make that money happen. Okay? It's not enough to just simply type, oh, well, this year I'm going to make 500,000 euros and next year €1 million. But instead, that model needs to look something like, if I spend 100,000 euros on advertising, okay, and I do it on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram and maybe a local newspaper, then it's going to generate phone calls, these many emails asking me about my services, and I close and convert some of those into business. That's a financial model that is actually useful. And if that's not something that you know how to do, most accountants do know how to do that. We know how to do that as well. You have to think of risk management, and one of the things that separates employees and entrepreneurs is we have to think about risk management. We have to think about reducing the chance that something bad will happen. And here's a list. There are other things that could be on there, and I'm not going to spend an hour reading off the list. But these are things that you can and should be doing in your business to lower the risk of your company. The key thing I actually want to take away and learn from this is risk management is not the same thing as risk avoidance. Okay? Saying that you have zero risk in the business is not necessarily due to risk management. I'll give you an example. If I live in the state of Nevada, which is a desert state in the western part of the U.S., And I said, I'm gonna reduce my risk of flood to zero by doing flood interference. That's not good risk management because in a desert, I'm never going to have a flood. I'm buying insurance for the sake of buying insurance. So all I'm doing is I'm making the insurance company richer, but I'm not managing the risk profile. Okay? You might, if you have a risk avoidance posture, you're going to turn down opportunities to expand your business because they're a little risky. But maybe that little risk has the potential for a big payoff. If you can invest €5 in order to potentially get 1,000, maybe that's worth doing. So it's not the notion that risk itself is bad. It's, are you being paid enough to take on that risk? That's the difference between risk management and risk avoidance. Avoidance is with all of the dynamic outcomes is not managing risk at all. And the other side of this is something called resilience. Resilience is what happens after something bad happens to the business that minimizes the damage. Bad things that can happen to your business, for example, your biggest customer leaves. You're a customer that's 40% of your revenue, and they go away. A key person who has most of the knowledge on how to provide your services gets hired away and goes to another company. Okay? Your customers are now confronting the fact that you had some negative press. How does your business respond to those things? There's a change in government and a change in policy, which you can't control other than voting. How would your business respond to that? Think about what's happening in the car industry right now. We all grew up in a time where gas-powered cars have been around forever, and we thought would be around forever. And now for the first time in 120 years, they have a real threat through electric vehicles. How do you survive them? The good companies are sufficiently agile and observant of trends that they're starting to embrace electric technology. And I don't know how long it's going to take before we all stop driving gas cars and electric cars, but it's going to happen. It may not be in our lifetimes, but in some way, it's going to happen. A great risk management tool is to document the processes. Everything that matters in your company should be in a file or a video. I prefer video for a lot of my processes. My train people, I tend to record things on video. And why do I do that? Because then if I have things, because millennials, Canadian people like video, they prefer video to reading, generally speaking. They've grown up in the internet generation, so they're used to videos. They also have to watch a video on their phone when they're going to bed at night or when they're awake, wherever they are, standing a lot of really looking. But that's just for me. The point is to document your processes someplace. Because if your processes aren't documented, you're taking a massive risk because all the processes are in your head. Well, what if something happens to you? And if all of the processes are in your head, you can never go on vacation. You can never take a break if allows your business stops. Well, that's not being a business anymore. That's just being in a high-stress job, and your boss is a jerk because they never let you take any time off. Next slide, please. This is just someone I don't look forward to make you wait anymore. Next slide, please. So how do we do this? Next slide. So tomorrow, these are things you can do tomorrow. Probably over the wet shower. Or at the end of the day, I don't know when the weather forecast is, but that old kiosk could be under the Providence fruit dish is an awesome place to have one. Glass of wine or something. Go down with a notebook or your tablet or your phone or something, and decide what your goals are going to be. No more than 3. One of the dangers of something like this is you get so excited that you write down 12 goals. And you cannot possibly next year on 12 goals. 3, you're going to find is part enough. Run them down. Studies have shown that if you write down a goal and you're something like 65 or 70% more likely to achieve a goal. It's stupid. I didn't believe it for years, and I finally started doing it, and then I started achieving goals. I resisted it. And again, share your goals with somebody who matters. Again, somebody who's going to help you be motivated to do the things necessary to achieve them, and review them every day so that you're constantly refreshing your mind as to what those are. Next slide. Next week, because it's a little bit harder, defining the target customer. And what is the most painful? Okay. There are 3 types of products in the world. There is candy, there are vitamins, and there are medicine. Candy is, it makes me feel good. Movie tickets are candy. Thin Macs are candy. Candy is candy. Okay? Vitamins are vegetables. You know what should eat them? We don't always do. Examples of that are financial planning. Examples of that might be car maintenance. And things that don't impact us today, but if we don't address them, then someday they're going to come back and create something bad. Maintaining our phones and our phones. Okay? Or do you have something that is in medicine? And you ever get a migraine headache? First ever got a migraine headache. They're bad, aren't they? You're going to be wanting to wear anything to make that migraine headache go away. Can you position your business as the cure to the migraine headache? Because when the migraine hits, you don't care how much the pill costs. You just want to make the thing go away. You're not asking the price. Okay? To find 3 things up front. Find out where those customers live. What are they watching? What do they consume? Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on YouTube? Are they walking on the street? Are they driving by on the highway? Do they belong to a club? Whatever it is, find out where they are. Because if you're advertising, if you're marketing to where they're not, that's not going to help you. You're going to have a key performance driver that doesn't drive them. And then define the 3 things that you need to do to make them know and trust you. That's going to be different for every business. It could be advertising, creating videos, it could be education, it could be doing something like this. Whatever it is, figure out what those 3 things are, and then set up a scorecard. One of the things we do in our business is that we have a scorecard of all these things we're supposed to be doing every week, and then we meet every week to see if we've done them. And if we haven't done them, you need to have a really good answer on. I prefer to Geo, because I hope to tell people on my team that I let them down by not doing those things, because there's people mad at me. Your scorecard will have different things on, and I already told you some of the things we have. Some of the things we have on our scorecard are videos created, and LinkedIn posts, and great leads, and people added to our emails, things of that nature. Right? And this scorecard will be different, but keep a scorecard. Why is scorecard important? Because if you play a game and you don't keep score, nobody cares. When was the last time you watched a friendly football match? Maybe different. This is a team I really hate, right? There's nothing in it for nothing. Why bother? You have to be really hardcore to watch the friendly match. But the average person, they're not watching the friendly. They're watching the match with people where people care about them. Nobody wants to try to win a game that they know that they can't win. You don't get rid of your business poisons. These things will suck the life out of your business. Distractions. What is it that's distracting you from doing the things that you need to be doing in your business? It could be social media, could be television, could be alcohol, could be, I don't know, it could be video games, could be anything, whatever that is, you know, identify it and minimize it. My biggest advice is reading articles. So I have to block out certain parts of the internet, otherwise I'll lay one article and then there are at least a few on and read those things. Next thing you know, I've spent 2 hours now without letting them go. Whatever modes for you, you're not going to get rid of it. Minimize the people who dominate. You're not able to ruin them entirely because they are family members that dominate. Don't let them live inside your head. And don't talk about your business with them because they're not going to bring anything constructive. Remember, I said their most precious resource is time. The second most precious resource is energy. If they take energy from you, we don't do it. Also, just as important so people know the question. I can't tell you how many times I've had people that have come to me thinking of having a great business because all their friends and family told them what a great idea it was. And then they're reaching out and when I told them that this business has no chance of working. Because I don't know this person and they're not independent me, so I have no incentive to do anything other than tell them what you're doing. People who never question you, they just nod their head and accept you no matter what, can be just as poisonous as the people who doubt you. And then you have toxic customers, suppliers, employees, the customers and the worst customers, they're always the ones who pay you the least. Under a rule, you can be demanding or low paying, but you cannot be both. But the most demanding customers always seem to be the ones that don't want to take you. So get rid of them, because you are going to find more independent customers if you do these other things. So on January 1st, in our house, develop your long-term, 1, 3, and 10-year goals. And what does your business have to look like to achieve them? Visualizing, developing, having an actual vision of what it looks like matters. The most successful athletes visualize what success looks like before they ever start to play. In their minds, they've already won. They're already good in game because they visualize that. And if those goals don't scare you, they're not ambitious enough. Real goals will scare the hell out of you. And then what 3 to 7 things you need to accomplish to achieve those goals. And there's a magic behind that number. If it's fewer than 3, most of the time you can't achieve real goals or achieve things. And if it's more than 7, it's going to overwhelm you and you won't do any of them. Scouting between that number, and you have to make hard choices. If you think you have 8, find one and make it 7, because you can't do all of them. And create that financial model that links these things that you're going to do to the financial outcomes so that you can see when you do or not do these things, the impact it has on the number of euros you have in your bank account. Next slide, please. So a successful business mindset is so important. Fear is okay. There's nothing wrong with you. Fear is a healthy thing. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is confronting fear. And the greatest victories come from overcoming fear. Success is often right on the other side of the door that you're afraid to open. How often, when we're trying to overcome fear, how often do you think that was not nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be? What the hell is that afraid of? Next slide, please. Probably won't get the award for having a successful business. Sorry. Maybe you will, but don't give out awards. Business ownership is a thankless job, and much of what you do goes unnoticed, and nobody's breathtaking for it. That's kind of part of the deal. Our job is to make hard things look easy. And if you make things look hard, you don't get thanks for it. In fact, people start to get nervous that you can actually deliver. And we do live in a world right now, especially thanks to social media, that provides us with much more negative feedback than positive feedback. So the mindset is that we have to block that out. And we have to remove the poisons. And the good things won't always show up in your bank account, at least where we're at. I do think that over time, if you do the good, if you do the right things consistently enough for long enough, they will show up, but they're not going to show up right away. Even the people that you don't like and you don't respect, who appear to be more successful than you. No problem not, but they appear to be more successful than you. You have to adopt a mindset to block that out. One of the best books I've ever written is a book called Who You Got Now. When you're an entrepreneur, you should be thinking about not how to do things, but who should enjoy it. Time is precious. You can always make more money. You cannot make more time. Hire your agencies. Unless it's a fatal weakness, don't spend a lot of time turning something that you're bad at and turn into something that you're a little bit less bad at. Don't like good use of your time. Instead, become awesome at the things you're good at. Gratitude is really important. It's not to realize that with all the things that the business throws at us that is negative, we have to remember that we chose this with the freedom to choose our time and our income. We're choosing different talents. We're picking the freedom, we're picking where we choose to grow. Look at history. I don't think if it's a person or if it's a company, freedom has never simply appeared. Somebody has had to make a sacrifice to provide it. Whether it's American history or Portuguese history, that is absolutely true. What is next? So think the mindset is, what happens if I do these things? And maybe more on like, what happens if I don't do these things? And in our company, we've actually found this to be a very useful device for deciding what we'll go out and do, because we have lots of opportunities to do things for our business. Not all of them are the right things to do. So how do we do it? One of the things we've adopted as a practice of, if we don't do this, what happens? And we wind up selecting things. If we don't do this, these bad things happen, or these great things don't happen. And we found that to be a very useful exercise for our decision-making practices. And finally, why should your business exist? Your business needs to have a reason to exist if it's going to be successful. And start with understanding you don't get to tell the market who you are. Next, please. You show the market who you are through your actions. If you feel like you have to tell the market who you are, you're not doing it right and you're not being effective. Nobody's going to read you. The market will tell you who you are by virtue of the feedback, by virtue of whether or not they patronize your business, by nature of the customers who come to your business. They're going to tell you who you are, because all of your customers are a reflection. If you don't like the customers that you're getting, you have changed the way you behave in the marketplace. And here's a tip. Your sales and marketing material should almost never use the words I or we. Nobody cares about what you say you believe in. Nobody cares about your education, your training. They care about what problem you solve. They care about what pain you take away. If I've got migraine headache and somebody tells me that they have the migraine bill, or what does the headache to do with? The best collateral material should be those where the customers see themselves in your business. Right? Apple doesn't have to tell you who they are, you already know. Harley Davidson doesn't have to tell you who they are, and more than you know. It's like giving yourself a nickname. You don't need to give yourself a nickname, the world gives you that name. Next slide, please. Stop trying to be better. You can't be better. And you can't be better because you don't know what better is. Because everybody's going to think they're afraid to be better in a different way. This is another great book called Pink Goldfish. And it's about building a business, not about trying to be better than everybody else, but trying to be different. Is Prompters better than everybody else all the time? I don't know. They're better for me. They're better for us. And they're different. And I can tell you exactly why they're different. But they never came to me and said, we're better. They never came to me and said, we're better than Laboratory or Seven. Through the way they act, the way they behave, the way I interact with them on a daily basis, and even not interact by being here, I know why they're different. That's what your business needs to be. He's going to think their experience with you is magical. One of the best business books out there is called Starting with Why. And the fundamental thesis of the book is that people don't buy what you do, they buy why they do it. But it starts with the impact. If Partners came and said, trust us because we want to make money, that's not very convincing, is it? Now, it's harder than you think to figure out what your why was. It took me years to figure it out after I wrote this book. Years. If you don't find it right away, don't become discouraged, because it does take some real work. But I can give you a couple of hints. Ask your closest friends, why are you my friend? That friend that you can call at 2 a.m. because you need help. Ask them why they're your friend. And your customers that have been with you for a long time and they're your best customers, ask them, why are they your customer? You will be surprised at what you do. And they're difficult conversations. You have to be vulnerable. Your friends have to be vulnerable, but you learn so much from those things. Most of us can't evaluate ourselves, but our friends can tell us. Our friends know what we're good at and bad at. And our customers also do. So ask them. Setbacks and mistakes are going to happen. It's arrogant to think that you'll never make a mistake in business. I still make them all the time because to survive. The key is to learn from them so that you do not repeat those mistakes. Forget the mistakes. It does not help you keep thinking about the mistake that you made in your out. It's not about never being knocked down. It's about how you get up off the mat. That's resilience. A couple of the resources that you may find useful. There's a guy in the UK named Chris Ducker. He has a good book called The Rise of the Entrepreneur. He has some good ideas. Also, this book called Traction. We run our entire business based on a framework in Traction. It's called the Entrepreneurial Operating System. And the fundamental premise of the book is to do work as we love for fair compensation with people that you love. And that's really not an unreasonable thing to ask on a lifetime business, is it? That's not asking too much. I'm trying to be Elon Musk, I'm trying to put rockets in space. I just want to have a business that I love running, that makes a difference, that pays me fairly, and that I enjoy the people that I truly enjoy being with, that I really want to be with, even if it weren't the work relationship. To me, that's a terribly modest ask. I want to thank you guys all for coming. I hope you learned some things out of this and take some things away. I'm happy to take any questions.